This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. Coming up in our closing markets, I will be joined by Kenan Layden of agmarket.net as we will run down the grains and the livestock side of the markets. But first, it is time for a conversation with Matt Gent. He is the current president of the Iowa Pork Producers Association. He will be transitioning into the role of past president at next week's Iowa Pork Congress, and we will hear from Matt about the upcoming Iowa Pork Congress.
Swine industry's largest indoor trade show coming up in Des Moines, Iowa Pork Congress is right around the corner past Iowa Pork Producers Association President Matt Gent, Southeast Iowa, Walcott area, I believe, to offer a little preview and look at the pork industry in Iowa here in 2025. Matt, what's going on?
Not much, Andy. How are you?
Doing well. As we were chatting a little bit beforehand, a year ago, we were in the middle of one of the worst snowstorms we've had in a long time, 26 inches over the course of 4 days. Doesn't look like anything compared to that around here at this time.
No, we've escaped quite a bit of it here in Southeast Iowa. So I guess unless you're getting paid to move snow, you're probably pretty happy.
Yeah, some of those folks have been extremely busy and active on the couple of occasions that there have been so far. So let's look ahead to Iowa Pork Congress here. What gets you excited about that each and every year?
You know, I always look forward to Iowa Pork Congress. It's a great 2-3 days in Des Moines for producers and industry professionals to get together and meet up. And we deal with a lot of people over the phone or Zoom calls, stuff like that. Do a lot of business remotely anymore, and it's really nice to be able to take a couple of days and meet people face to face, and it's a good way to get business done. So
a lot of industry experts all in one place too.
There is. I believe there's over 250 vendors coming to the show, and like I said, it's always fun to see the new and exciting stuff, but I look forward to more the personal relations, and anymore it's hard for me almost to get through the show just because you stop and talk to everyone that you haven't seen in a while.
All those autograph seekers slow you down, do they, Matt?
Well, I don't know about that.
Selfie takers and that sort of thing that ends up on social media. And it's a diverse promotion too. I mean, the taste event on Monday night is always fun. The auction on Tuesday night, in addition to the sort of ongoing education that you've referenced.
Yes. So this is our last year for doing the taste event. We will have new, big, better things looking forward to next year. This will be an exciting one. In the past, we've always set, the menu or the pork dish that the chefs have to use. This year, it's a free-for-all. They can bring whatever they want, and it should be really exciting, actually, to see what they come up with and what they're comfortable preparing. So looking forward to that. And then, of course, the scholarship auction Tuesday night is always a really good time, draws a heck of a crowd. And it's become a really big event for Pork Congress. And I know a lot of people, it's a great way to kick off Pork Congress.
Absolutely. So what do you imagine will be, or maybe I should say, well, what are you wanting to discuss with said experts there as you kind of look ahead to your operation in 2025?
Yeah. There's always a lot of side conversations that happen between producers and industry professionals. And I'm sure hot topics are going to be profitability going forward, health challenges going forward. There's just a laundry list of things that I think are hot topics to producers right now.
How concerned are you about the bird flu in your pork operation?
It's a good question. Personally, I'm not terribly concerned about it. When you read all the news stuff and you wonder, okay, can this transfer to a pig, blah, blah, blah. I'm not an expert by any means. There's a lot of people in this industry that are. Um, but we in the pig world, we have our own challenges as well. And I really hope we don't have to deal with another one.
Yeah,
But
birds,
that's
right?
yeah, birds is definitely still a big deal. It's a hot topic right now, especially across the state of Iowa. There's always you hear of little snippets of PED this time of year in the winter. But I would say PERS is definitely still the hot topic.
Mhm. Talk a little bit about that profitability component. 23, obviously very tough. 24,
Yeah.
maybe better. What do you see in
Yeah.
25?
23 was really tough with high input cost. 24 was okay, but not great as well. 25, we have seen some light here. There's some profitability to be had. Input costs have definitely dropped. Demand for our product has feels like it's changed. And now the challenge that we have as producers and the whole industry is how do we hold that demand? How do we keep this train on the tracks and not revert back to this profit loss cycle that the industry seems to love to go through? And we got to break that cycle and just change the demand of our product long term.
Well, I've been doing my part, if that helps any. The smoker continues to get lit on a regular basis. I'm sure you have too, all those chefs at Taste on Monday night doing the same thing. How can we find out more about Iowa Pork Congress and get registered?
Well, of course, you can visit iowapork.org. There's lots of information out there on the web, and yes, you can get registered ahead of time. Make your entrance into the event seamless and easy. And we got a laundry list of speakers. Chad Greenway is our keynote speaker, former Iowa Hawkeye, Minnesota Vikings player. Really looking forward to him, and a great list of seminars that producers can attend as well.
As the Iowa grad, I'm just looking forward to all the Iowa Staters that are talking about being excited to hear Chad Greenway speak, Matt.
Yeah, I've heard more people this year say, I can't wait to hear what Chad Greenway said, and I think a lot of people are excited about the keynote speaker. So should be a packed house, hopefully.
You bet. We'll see you there, Matt. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you to Andy Peterson for bringing us that conversation with Matt Gent of the Iowa Pork Producers Association, as we will now talk about the closing markets. That's coming up next. But first, let's hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff. You're watching Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
You're watching Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it is time now for our closing markets. I'm joined now by Kenan Layden of agmarket.net. Kenan, of course, we got the reports from USDA on Friday. We saw some price movement to the upside. But here today, what did we see with the grain markets in terms of trade?
Yeah, Mark, as you said, the market had substantial gains on Friday and Monday. Moving into today, the market was moving up, and throughout the day, it kind of weakened. Soybeans were weakest, leading the way. Some of that could be attributed to the continued forecast for rain coming in this weekend into Argentina, which has been hot and dry, as all your listeners probably know. Corn closed down slightly, and wheat was a little lower to a little higher, almost unchanged.
And Kenan, when you think back to the reports on Friday, of course, we have the trade estimates, the trade guesses going into the report and what we might see. And those can be close, but we don't always know what's in the report until we actually get it. So when we got the report, was there anything that really was considered a big surprise to you?
Yeah, big surprise, as most of your listeners probably know, was the huge decrease in that corn yield and a large decrease in that soybean yield, which was outside of market expectations, which really, as the market reacted to strongly. really had a strong reaction. And that was something that, if they were going to decrease this corn number that you may have seen in November, coming off with that fast harvest, we did have very good crop conditions going into the fall. Harvest came off fast, but they kept that number high up there, especially in corn, until January now, where they all of a sudden just decreased it all. So I guess that was a surprise to me. There was some rumblings, of some of their information on that November report where, they had some ears, maybe decreased ear size per cob, but, they didn't do anything there. And that kind of led the market to trade one way. And then, as you see sometimes on these USDA reports, they just threw a wrench in everyone's marketing plan and wrench in kind of what we expected to see, which does happen.
So, Kenan, now that we've made it past the reports on Friday, are we right back to, again, basically focusing on South America and what's happening with that weather? I know you already mentioned there has been a little bit of a change to the positive for that Argentina forecast.
Yeah, I would say that the soybean market now is going to shift more fully towards the South American weather pattern. Corn market to a lesser degree, but it'll still be focusing down there. CONAB released their estimate for the Brazil production of soybean bushels or metric tons, and it was essentially unchanged today. So they're still forecasting the same size crop, which is a little bit below the USDA estimate and some of the private estimates, but most of those estimates for the Brazil crop have been large, and get slightly favorable weather in some of the drier southern regions may, be something that pressures this market as we move into harvest. And one thing to think about is as harvest shifts to Brazil, our export pace has been very good in soybeans and extremely good in corn. Does some of that lighten up? Do we get a slower export pace to some of the demand we see coming in? Does that begin to weaken and then put some pressure here on these U.S. markets?
Well, of course, we focused a lot on the grain side of the markets here the last few days, but let's talk about the livestock complex. How did the cattle and hogs trade today?
Yeah, feeders were up slightly. Live cattle were essentially flat to down a little bit, and hogs were up a little bit today. That cash feeder price continues to be really high and very strong in sale barns around. That front month has to keep pace, that January feeder contract with that feeder cattle index. And so that one was up big today, just keeping pace with cash. There's a report coming out on food demand tomorrow in the U.S., and some of the estimates show that the U.S. consumer is still consuming beef at a higher rate than they were last year that I read. And with a fundamentally shorter herd, kind of begs the question, where is any outside force going to come into this cattle market to weaken it? One note to add is the CFTC commitment of traders managed money is a record long in feeder cattle. So the bullish news just keeps piling up in this market. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes and if there's anything that can stop it.
Kenan, for our viewers that maybe want to get in touch and talk about some of the things we've mentioned here today, or just any other marketing information, how can they do so?
Yeah, check us out on the web at agmarket.net and search for a broker in your area.
Kenan Layden, agmarket.net, our guest here today. Thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it. Have a good rest of your week.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you to Kenan Layden of agmarket.net for our closing markets here today. Let's take a look at how the numbers closed in the closings. As we go to the market tab of our website, you can find those numbers anytime at iowaagnet.com. March corn down 2 cents at $4.74.5. March soybeans down 5.5 at $10.47.5. March soybean meal down $2 at $3.05.80. March soybean oil up 23 cents at $46.22. Chicago wheat up 1 1/4 at $5.46 1/4. Minneapolis wheat down 4 cents at $5.89.5. Kansas City hard red wheat down 1/4 cent at $5.60 3/4. March oats up 10 1/4 at $3.54 1/4. On the Merc, February live cattle unchanged at $197.40. January feeder cattle up $2.25 at $274.10. February lean hogs up 45 cents at $83.62. February pork cutout up 37 cents at $89.87. Class 3 milk down 8 cents at $20.27. That wraps up our closing markets for Tuesday, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on social media at Facebook, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't forget as well to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification icon to let you know whenever there's any new videos available for you. You can also listen to our morning, midday, and closing market podcast, as well as our daily Iowa Ag Matters podcast, wherever you find your favorite podcast at Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith, Andy Peterson, and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.